Hello, welcome back to another episode of One Lump or Two. Today we are talking to Life After Cancer. They are a small London-based UK charity. They work really closely with Macmillan, Teenage Cancer Trust, Trackstock, Target Ovarian Cancer, Future Dreams, Nuffield Health. I have used them and they are brilliant and I can't sing their praises well enough. One of the things I found most beneficial is that they actually have a WhatsApp group that's just full of people talking about their experiences and what they're up to, and it's hugely supportive. And it is all about life after cancer, people taking those dreams they've always wanted to do and going and achieving them with the weight of this wonderful community behind them. And what Steph and her team have managed to create here is just beautiful. And I feel incredibly lucky to be a part of it. And I feel incredibly lucky that we get the chance to talk to Steph today to showcase what this charity can do. So here it is, Steph talking about life after cancer.
Hi, Steph. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited to chat to you and hear from you because I think life after cancer is a struggle for everybody. And I know, like, for me personally, and literally everyone I've spoken to has said that life after cancer is so hard because you're on this treatment and you know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you're kind of like chucked into the world again, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know I don't know what to do with myself. So, can we just start by you telling us a little bit about yourself, life after cancer, and kind of how it came about?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I agree in terms of that. Often the post-treatment bit just can feel so much harder than the actual cancer experience itself. I think many of us know if we're diagnosed with cancer that we know it's going to be awful. Like that is, not news to a point for us, but no one really knows that the post-cancer piece is going to be quite challenging. And we asked the community, and 92% said they found life after cancer harder than cancer treatment itself, which
Mm.
is not surprising when you say it to people who've had cancer. Like, yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, it's such a big percentage, but it's really not surprising at
Yeah.
all.
I'm surprised it's not 100%.
Yeah. Who are those 8%? Yeah, I run Life After Cancer, and for me it started after my own experience. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was a long time ago, but for me, 10 years post treatment, I was told, oh, you'll probably go into early menopause, just really casual, and you'll struggle with your fertility. I was still having all of my late effect appointments, heart scans and all the rest of it. And I'd moved to London. I was, in my kind of towards late 20s, and I just thought, oh my goodness, like, who do I talk to this about? Every piece of support I could find was during cancer treatment. So I kind of, laid that seed in my brain, I guess, and I was working full time, and I thought, oh, I'm going to train as a coach. And I kind of used this idea of wanting to support people post cancer treatment during my training. And then in 2018, in East London, which is where I live, I thought, okay, let's try and get a group of people who've had cancer together. And we did that. So it ran for like once a month, 12 of us who'd had cancer. And I realized actually I wasn't the only person who felt this way. 4 months in, they said, oh, I really want to feel like we're moving forward. So we're not just sat here talking about it. So we created a coaching program together, which is now the 6-week coaching program we've run. I don't know how many times, like 8 times a year, kind of, for the last so many years. And I run it for several other charities as well. And the goal really is to support that individual to move forward post-treatment, looking at identity, values, all the rest of it. And now we have a really large community. There are 4 other coaches delivering the services, and I spend most of my time working with other organizations, charities, to support them with their post-cancer treatment community. Because I guess in the last few years, you would have seen it as well, like more charities and organizations are realizing actually there is a real need here.
Yeah, there's a huge need. Telly and I were literally just talking before we started this about how the journey isn't linear. And like today, I was talking to my mum about things I've spoken to her 1,000 times before in relation to my life after cancer. But today I was crying. And I literally said to her today, I was like, it's just a slog. And I'm bored of it. And I'm only 2.5 years in. And I've still got 7.5 years left until I'm off all of my treatment and everything. And it's so hard and it's so invisible as well because you stop looking sick and
Mhm.
you look maybe exactly how you looked before, and all the things you're dealing with daily to get through each day, your medication side effects, the anxiety, the horrible evil voices in your head, all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
it's just invisible to everyone. And it can be really, really hard to find the right people to support you, and even just to sit there and say, like, I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, I completely agree. The piece that comes out the most in our groups is that, oh my goodness, I'm not the only one feeling this way. I
Mhm.
thought I was going absolutely insane. It's going because again, it's that assumption that you'll meet someone during treatment, and you'll find your best buddy and you'll be able to like talk through this. Whereas that's not, when you're feeling your absolute worst, that's the last thing
Yeah.
you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and when you're young as well, it's, me and Kate are lucky that we kind of found each other and we live around the corner from each other. But in general, when we were going through treatment, you are the youngest ones in the room, and so you
mm.
can't, I think it's unlikely that you're going to find like your best bud in the
Mhm.
chemotherapy chair when you're
Yeah.
sat next to like an 80-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be kind of like another isolating part as well. So how old were you when you were diagnosed then? You must have been kind of a teenager.
Yeah, I was 15, 16.
My God.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was either in the baby ward or
Yeah.
in with the old people.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yes, there's
because
no real like there's no
well,
in between.
I mean, Teenage Cancer Trust have incredible wards. I was in West Wales and they only had 5 beds, 5 adolescent beds for the whole
Mm.
country at the time.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, very young. But for me, I really think the challenges were 10 years post, because I guess when you're
Yeah.
that young as well, you just kind of, you're almost too young. You just kind
Mhm.
of crack on, do your GCSEs, do your A levels, and
Yeah.
move away and all the rest of it. So
You still have a lot of other people making a lot of the decisions
yeah.
about your life for you at that point. And like, one of the things I've certainly struggled with is, how do I know I'm making the right decision for now? Or is the decision I make today still going to be right in 5, 6 years time? And it's such a key part of your like time in your life, certainly your 30s. And it totally is when you're doing your GCSEs and everything as well. But it's like you've got like your whole life ahead of you, right? When you're much younger.
Mm.
So it's easy to be like, oh yeah, so this might be done by the time I'm 20, 30. And
Mhm.
at that point, you've still hopefully got another 60 odd years ahead of
Mhm.
you. So
Yeah.
it's like the rose tinted glasses thing, isn't it? Because you're so young and you're just like,
Yeah.
yes, we're going to get through this and everything. And I very much had those rose tinted glasses on even at 30 when I first started this, and very quickly was like, yeah, no, should take them off.
Yeah. But I guess then I mean, I'm sure individuals in their kind of 20s and 30s feel this, especially, or 40s, like, or whatever situation you're in. But when it comes to menopause and fertility, like being told at, you know, whatever, 26, 27, 28, oh, you might not be able to have kids, then you're like dating, then you're like, oh, when, like, do I have this
Mm.
conversation?
Mm.
Is it like you don't want to make it a thing? Like, all of these questions that you don't know how to navigate.
It's probably not something you were thinking about when you were 15, 16, and
Hmm.
going through that, because I don't think we tend to think about having children when we're that young.
Hmm.
It's not a thing. I mean, even for me, like the whole early menopause thing, that was a complete shock to me. That was never anything I had considered was part of a cancer diagnosis, or my type of cancer diagnosis, because it's not, obviously not everyone that has cancer will end up in early
Hmm.
menopause.
No, you
Yeah.
just get like thrown these things at you, don't you? Kind of like you're in this whole whirlwind of treatment, and either like you're not told or you are told and you don't digest the information, and then afterwards you're like, wait, what now? Like I can't do this, I can't do that. Like yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's difficult for other people to kind of grasp, I think. And I think especially for me, I find like the low energy part of it the trickiest, and I think you don't know how you're going to feel until after your treatment. And I like really quickly wanted to jump back into like normal life, which of course anyone who's had a cancer diagnosis knows that there's no like going back to like normal,
Mm.
there's no normal anymore. And so I really struggled with like, yeah, I'm normal again, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then 6 months down the line I'm having like a mental breakdown, and I just wasn't ready to go back into life. But no one tells you how hard it's going to be, and no one prepares you, and there's just not an awful lot out there,
No.
apart from you guys.
Well, I think that's it as well, is that your hand is held to a point, isn't it, with all of these medical appointments. So it's like, just turn up. Okay, here's like the date, here's the time, arrive here. Of course, that's none of it is enjoyable. But you feel like, I put my trust into the medical professionals. And then suddenly you walk out the hospital and you think, oh, who helped me with this bit? Like, what do I do now? Who's going to hold my hand? And it's not the same at all. But if you're thinking about your identity post-cancer treatment, I often think about when someone's had a baby, it's not the same. But it's that, like, when you have a baby, you're given, like, how many books are there on like what to do? They're like stage by stage or step by step, all of that stuff. It's like, I know it doesn't tell you exactly what to do, but there's so much support. There's, NCT, which I often like, what a great model in terms of having that post-cancer treatment. It's just like, it's your community, it's your people, it's your, this is what you need to do for the X amount of months. And these things might happen, but they also might not. And if they do, then, here's something that can support you with that. But there's nothing there for that.
One of the things that I think is great that you have and offer, and I know about it because I am part of it, is your lovely WhatsApp group. I don't take part in it a huge amount. That's just partially who I am. But it's so wonderful to have a pocket of people who I know I could message that group at any point about something I'm dealing with or something I'm thinking with, and I would be greeted with many messages of support and help, and people who are saying, yeah, we've been there. Have you tried this? Or how about this? Or I think you should check with your GP if you're feeling this way. And that's just wonderful. Like I have messaged in there a couple of times, and it's a very active group, which is also really nice, because I'm in a couple of other groups as well where everything's kind of just died off. So it feels like that support is gone. That's not the way it feels with the WhatsApp group that you guys offer.
Yeah, I agree. It is very active, and there's very often someone there, no matter what time of day or evening it is, to support and listen. And I really like that there's people who've been to our support groups in the coaching program, and when they feel like, actually, I'm in a good place, they turn back and they support the people who are in the same position as they were a year or 6 months ago. The community is so special, isn't it? We of course have that thread in common, and all of our coaches have had cancer themselves. So I guess when that coach is delivering the support group or the coaching program, you just have that relationship, that really tight relationship, very, very quickly with them. And of course, in most of these sessions, in a very small time, you're opening like your heart, your world to someone. You need someone to hear you, and that's what our role is to listen and to understand and to support. So yeah, it's a very, very special space, that WhatsApp group.
Yeah, definitely. And you post a lot in there as well about the things that you guys offer. So I know you do some in-person meetups, and you have is it monthly book club? Which, if I was a reader, I would totally be a part of, but I don't read. That's my sister's jam. And like, and so it's really nice that you're actively keeping everyone up to date with what's happening and what's available to them, and other events that you might have organized or things like that. And I think that's really helpful, because sometimes having to go and seek things out can be a really challenging thing to do if you're not maybe in the right headspace, or you don't think that there is something that can necessarily cater to what you think you might need.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to find, isn't it? Yeah, I agree. We try to offer on a monthly basis like an expert session. So, someone talking about menopause or nutrition or exercise, whatever that might be, and then having a coaching workshop. So we might support you with your identity or purpose, and then a no agenda peer support group. And then we've got our coaching program. So trying to keep things, you don't want to do too many things, but also want to make sure everyone's journey is so different, isn't it? So you want to make sure you're offering as much support as possible. And also, for example, with the coaching program, we want it to be as personalized as possible, to make sure but not coming, landing on the table and saying, okay, well, here's a one size fits all program to
Yeah.
support you. We understand like you're all in a very different place, and we ask what their needs are before they join the program to make sure that we can meet them as closely as possible.
So when you talk about the coaching program, can you just explain briefly kind of what that entails?
Yeah, so it's 6 weeks and 6 sessions, which are all 2 hours long for a group of 12 people. So it's the same 12 people who work together for 6 weeks. We have a WhatsApp group that goes with that. And each workshop, so it's usually on a Thursday afternoon, they meet 2 till 4, and we look at different topics, different challenges post cancer. So it could be your values, your identity, meeting your needs, some self care, some visioning. So where you are now, where you want to be, keeping in mind that, of course, for lots of us, there's so much uncertainty and this feeling of, we know jinxing isn't real, but it's like, oh, if I put something really nice in the diary in a year, then of course something's going to happen. So it's working to timeframes that we're comfortable with. We look at the stories that we're telling ourselves. Are we being kind to ourselves? I think whether we've had cancer or not, just so many people that just speak to themselves that you would never speak to anyone else. So just trying to really bring in some self-compassion, a little bit of mindfulness, meditation, thinking about why we feel emotions in our body and how we want to be feeling and what can we do in order to achieve that. And thinking about kind of goal setting as well. And, before cancer, I think we have these, I always think of like what you're kind of taught at school, these like big shiny goals, like, oh, get the next job and get the bigger house, whatever it might be. Whereas we see that those change post cancer. It's I want peace. I would love to just sit outside with the sun on my face for 5 minutes with a cup of coffee on my own. Or I just want capacity to go for a walk around the block with my neighbor or a friend to have a little chat. They're not these big things, so there's kind of no guilt around them changing or what they might be now.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, and it sounds so relatable as well. Like, especially when you said about, planning ahead. Like, I never plan like years in advance because because I've had cancer and I'm morbid, and I think like, oh, like a lot can change in a year, and maybe I won't even be alive in 2 years time. But it's so relatable though, isn't it? Like, I just can't plan ahead anymore. And everything you just said that goes into that coaching session is so relatable to anyone that's had cancer and having these goals of, oh, I must own a house. And I think it's like societal pressure as well to have these things. I mean, it's not realistic for a lot of people, especially owning a house, but especially if you've had cancer, like that isn't your goal anymore. Like your whole like outlook on life and everything just changes. And like my goal this morning was getting up and going swimming, and I only did 20. I was just telling Kate before we met, like I literally did 20 minutes this morning, 20 lengths, which isn't an awful lot, but for me, like that was plenty, and I was really proud of myself.
Yeah, and honestly, I think half of it is showing up, isn't it? It's just
100%.
there. Yeah, it's, and this, what you said about, you kind of touched on health, and that goes back to our values, doesn't it? Like they often change whether we kind of want them to or not post treatment, because I often hear people who value work, for example, before treatment, and they're like, well, actually, I really have to value my health now. Some people, of course, want to, but you're like, it's a little bit of a struggle for some people, or a change of like, oh, but I'm used to working 10, 12 hours a day and or prioritizing other people. I've got a family and I'm going to put them first. Or, parents, I might need to look after them. It's going, oh, I need to prioritize my health and myself now. How do I do that? What does that look like? What are my needs? I don't even know how to figure that bit out.
And it's so hard to make these decisions as well. Like I love my job, have always loved my job, love it a little bit less this side of cancer, but that's because my priorities have changed. Like before cancer, I wasn't necessarily career driven, but I was very driven to be the best at my job and like outdo my own performance. And I took an awful lot of pride in what I do, and I still do, but it definitely sits in a different seat. Someone sent me a job that I'm totally more than capable of doing, and I found myself, I like looked at the job description, I was like, yeah, I could do that, I could do it with my eyes closed. If I apply for this job, if I go for it, I'm in for a really good chance of getting that, I think. But it was when I sat down and thought about, okay, but how does that job and that change and the changes that come with that job, so having to be in the office more than I currently am now, having to commute more, because I've got to commute to the other side of Oxford, I'm therefore further away from my doctor, so it's not just a 10-minute pop out like it is now, and I'm there all the time. Like annual leave, I've been at my place for so long now that I've accrued extra annual leave, which means I get to spend more time with my family, and I have to give that up. And it dawned on me, like, as I was working out what this job would look like in my life now, that I wasn't then prepared to have less time with my family, because 2 years ago I thought I was never going to see them again. The difference is 5 annual leave days. That 5 days that I get where I currently am means so much more than anywhere else. And I would never have made the decision not to further my career 2 years ago. Even like with the kids, I'd have still been like, yeah, I can fit it in, I can make it work. And I just knew that I can't make it work without sacrificing my health or the parent that I am to my children. And if and when I do die, whether it's cancer or not, they're no way going to look back and go, oh, I wish she'd spread herself a bit more thin. They're going to be like, oh, wish she was with us more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was really hard realizing that my thought process had changed, and that this opportunity that I would have jumped at beforehand actually wasn't the opportunity that I thought it was, because my values have changed.
Well done for having the confidence to make that choice, because I think, like you said, you really worked through all of that to ensure that you're living life in line with, who you want to be post-treatment as well, which is difficult to do, isn't it? And we have that realization quite early on, don't we, that life is short, and it's so scary, and that our time is limited, and that can feel so overwhelming, can't it? But like you said here, it actually kind of gave you almost like the walls to make that choice, didn't it?
Yeah. And it is weird, like it's weird, like seeing these opportunities, and because you still get the FOMO of missing out. I think I watch my friends do all of these big things in life that they've always planned, and I do sometimes still feel they're like, oh, I'm missing out because I'm having to make different decisions, and I have to really like rein myself back in and be like, yeah, but you're making different decisions because you have a different life experience to them over the last few years, and it doesn't matter how much you want to be normal and you want life to be normal, it isn't. And you did go through this really horrible thing, and it has fundamentally changed who you are at your core. And accepting that is just, it's a huge thing. I think that's why a lot of us do struggle with who we are on the other side of it, and that can take years to figure out. Like I've in no way got it down. I don't think I actually know who I am or who I want to be.
I haven't got a
now.
clue.
I just get up every day.
Get up every day, yeah.
But it is really tough, and it's one of those things that you can't really just talk to people about if they also don't share that experience, because they tend to look at you like you're a little bit crazy.
Yeah, and that's why meeting your community is so helpful, isn't it? You think, I'm not the only one feeling this way.
And people really get you as well. Like they understand, like when you say like, oh, I'm feeling tired, it's not just because you've had like a bit of a rough sleep, like you're exhausted.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? And like you said, it takes a very, very long time to get to that place, and to have the confidence, not just to know who you are, but also to make those choices, to be like, no, I'm sure of who I am, and this is the right thing for me. And I always love the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. It just works on so many levels, doesn't it? From, like you said, comparing yourself to where your friends might be, or just social media in itself around cancer accounts and all the rest of it. Just this idea that when you finish treatment, you're going to be running around the world having a great time and like making the most out of life and squeezing it dry. You're like, why don't I feel like I can do that, or I have the energy to do it? It's
100%. There is that pressure to like enjoy every single moment and do these crazy things, and it's like it's not realistic for everybody. Like I'd love to not work. I really would love to not work and just go and like travel and see my family all day every day, like, but it's not, that's not kind of everybody's real life. So yeah, it's difficult, but yeah, you're right, comparison is the thief of joy, and we're all on our own kind of timelines and journeys, as it were. And things that bring you joy can be super simple, like like I went for a roast with my mum and dad at the weekend, and that was like glorious for me.
That sounds lovely.
Then Shelley and I went on quite a ragey walk.
We did actually. Classic. Steph, will you tell us how people can kind of get in contact with you, how they can learn a little bit more about the amazing stuff that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is life-aftercancer.co.uk. So all of our services are on there. We're on same for social media, Instagram and Facebook. And if you want to join our WhatsApp group, then just pop us an email, which the email will be on the website. So yeah, all welcome to join our services. We have a 1 hour session every Thursday at 12:30. So there's always something on, and we run 8 coaching workshops a year. So they kind of just keep rolling on throughout the year.
Yeah.
And everything is free. It's funded by the lottery.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to pay to have like coaching sessions.
No, all free. Yes.
That's incredible.
And our goal is to increase mental well-being and reduce isolation. So as the coaches, we're here to provide, a safe space, no judgment, and just using kind of coaching questions and exercises for individuals to work out what they want going forward.
Well, it sounds amazing, and it's such like an important charity, because it's such an important kind of step in your life, and the lack of support out there is crazy. So you're doing like such incredible work, and we're so grateful to have you on and to chat to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And yes, good luck with everything going forward. Enjoy those rage walks. They sound great.
Thank you. We will.
Thank you. I have got you a present. I was out running some errands like the little housewife that I am the other day.
Classic.
And I found in town a crystal shop. Now,
Love it.
stick with me, because I know crystals are not things that like everyone believes in, and I don't know if I believe in it, but I definitely feel like at this point we are willing to try anything to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
So I went and I got us some crystal bracelets.
Yay.
I did some research and I found there's a crystal called obsidian, and it is, and I'm going to quote this off a website, so I don't want to get it wrong. It is believed to help process emotions and experiences and aid in you letting things go.
Okay, well that sounds perfect.
Yeah, I went into the crystal shop today and I was like, I'm looking for this. And she was like, I've got bracelets or I've got stones. And I was like, well, obviously I want a bracelet.
Yeah. We need the obsidian on us at all times.
Yeah. And then she told me about snowflake obsidian, which does all of the above, but also apparently helps you recognize your own patterns in like your thoughts and your behavior. And I thought that's great, because we're both obviously battling some horrible, nasty little demons after all of this. So we've got snowflake obsidian bracelets.
Yeah, nice.
Move on and let go and live our life after cancer.
Yeah, nice. I see what you did there.
Yeah, see, I'm so good at this. What do we want our lives to look like after cancer? It's not something I've put too much thought into, other than the fact that it's very different to what it was before.
Yeah, I think like it's such a like loaded question, isn't it? Because there's not really an answer to it. I think just like, yeah, they look nothing like they did before. Like obviously none of this was in the plan. No plans to get cancer. But I think there's like not a taboo is the wrong word. People don't realize the change in you. And because I've had lots of people say to me, oh, what did your degree in? Like, oh, I did zoology and I did wildlife health and conservation. It's like, oh, can you not just go back into that? And it's like, it's not that simple, hon.
Yeah.
I've had cancer now. I can't really move abroad because the insurance would be crazy. Also, I don't want to move abroad now because I don't want to be too far away from my family in case like anything happens like that. And it's like just everything completely changed. And so like it frustrates me a little bit when people are like, oh, why can't you just do what you did before? Because I'm not the same person I was before.
Yeah.
I have a different outlook. I have different priorities. I have a lot of like health concerns. My bones hurt so much. I'm so tired. If I don't want to work full time, like honestly, I don't have mental capacity to work full time. But I have to push myself through it because I need the money.
I've not been at work the last week. The difference in the levels of my mental capacity not being at work has been insane. Like I've been able to tell the difference, and I've been able to see so clearly how much that 8-hour workday is taking from me. And I don't think I'd necessarily change that, because I do like my job. I love my job. It affords me the life that we choose to live. I'm not prepared to give that up. So I don't have a lot of choices to not do that. But it is ridiculous how I used to do this job full time, no problems, and everything else. And I just can't now.
And it's annoying because it does impact like socially what you can do as well. So like, for example, today obviously we're recording the podcasts and naming no names. I was supposed to be meeting up with a friend after this to, I don't know, have a drink, just literally something real low key, and they cancelled earlier in the day. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh thank God, because I actually don't have the energy. Not that it would have been any energy whatsoever, like it's like I just want to chill out and relax, and I just feel exhausted. Which is such a frustrating place to be in. Yeah, your work takes up so much of your energy that you just can't do social things the way you used to be able to just be like, oh, I'm just going to do this after work, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this after work. You can't do that anymore.
This feels like an accidental segue into something that we were talking about last week. So last week I discovered an app called Visible Health. And it's not just an app, it's actually it's like a wearable smart band thing. It's not compatible with my phone, so I can't do that. But the app itself, it takes a heart reading every morning, and you choose which of your symptoms you want to track, and then you every evening say on a scale of 1 to 4 where you fall on that scale. So I track my fatigue, my joint pain, my muscle pain. It asks you how you exerted yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and socially. Then it uses all that information and does some science, and I'm not even going to pretend to know the science, to essentially tell you on a scale of 1 to 5 where you fall at the start of that day in terms of how much energy you should be putting into what you're doing. It learns every time you do it. So the other day I did it in the morning and it told me that I had a morning stability of 2, which is quite low. And I kind of thought, well, what's it chatting about? Because I've felt worse. But I got up that day and I didn't really do a lot for a couple of hours, but then I got up and I cleaned the rabbits out and I went into town and I bought some stuff that I needed to do, and then I came back and I fixed a problem with the rabbit hutch, and then I did something else, and an hour later I was out of it on the sofa, and I was like, I've just crashed. And you can record that in the app as well. I said to Shane, I was like, but I felt fine. And he was like, maybe you should have listened to the science, because it could tell based on what you've told it over the last few days that you don't quite have the same energy levels, certainly not to sustain you throughout the day like you need to. So I think that's taught me that one of the things that I need to consider and I need to get better at in life after cancer is pacing myself and actually listening to my body, or as a bare minimum listening to what the app is telling me that my body is trying to tell me. And then I might
listen to the middleman.
Then I might avoid more extreme highs and then followed by extreme lows, because I think that takes a huge mental toll when you're like, oh yeah, but I just did this and I did that and I did this and I've had such a good 5 days and now I can't get off the sofa. And you can't get off the sofa because you overdid it in those 5 days.
I'm very guilty of that. Like I literally will busy myself so much. Like I'll have a week where I'm doing loads and then I'm like, why am I so tired? Because you did something every day last week. Which is so ridiculous, because with like early 30s we should be able to do stuff every day. It's not like I was like climbing a mountain every single day.
Maybe like, you are going to be soon.
I am going to be doing that, so let's not even joke. But it's just frustrating, and it's kind of like the spoon theory.
I love spoon theory.
I love the spoon theory, and I'm never very good at explaining it, so I'm going to kind of waffle on about it, but you know me, I'm great at waffling. So basically, for anyone listening who doesn't know the spoon theory, it's like you have a set number of spoons like per day. So like at the start of the week I'll have like 20 spoons, but that's already less than like an average 30-year-old who hasn't had cancer. They start with what, like 30 spoons. A day at work might cost me 10 spoons, so I've only got 10 left. And then like I've gone out for a drink, that's 5 spoons. I've had to get dinner, that's 5 spoons. I've gone to the gym, that's 5 spoons. I'm in minus 5 spoons, if my maths is correct.
Yeah, and the idea is that every task you perform costs spoons.
Yeah,
and that's the spoon cost isn't relative to the size of the task. So
No.
for some people, and we've talked about this before, we've used it as a gauge, having a shower is nothing. They'll just do it. And there are other people where having a shower is the biggest thing they're going to achieve that
That's like
day.
3 spoons for me.
Yeah.
I probably go to bed every day with like -10. I definitely always have negative spoons.
Yeah.
So then when you wake up the next morning, that 20 spoons that you get every morning, I've now only got 10 because I went to
Yeah.
bed on -10. So then obviously by the end of the week, you wake up on like negative spoons. You've got no energy to give, but you still have to give it because you just got to live.
Yeah. I have a friend who regularly checks in on my spoon count, and I'll just be talking to him about like, oh, I'm doing this today, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. And he'll be like, have you got that many spoons? And I'll be like, no,
Not
I
really,
don't.
no. No. I'm
So
going to do it anyway.
I'm gonna probably have to drop something. And he's really good at understanding the idea of it. Shane he doesn't seem to quite grasp it. He's probably the reason why I just power through a lot of the time, because I can't be asked to keep explaining spoon theory to him, because that in itself takes spoons. I think one of the other things that I don't think it's necessarily changed for me, because I think I've always wanted to spend as much time as possible with my family. But now I feel like unapologetically, no. Obviously, we don't have the kids all the time. They have another household. So, we have to
Mhm.
share them. And that means that the times we do have them, I very unapologetically will be like, no, this is my 4 days a month with our children. No one else gets me during
Yeah.
that time, like, and they get my undivided attention, and I will only share that time if it is genuinely beneficial to me and
Yeah.
them. Like, I wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, this mate wants to go for a drink, cool, we'll go for a drink. No, sorry, that's not
Mhm.
important when I've got my kids. Whereas before I would probably have considered it, whereas now I won't.
Yeah.
They are everything. And protecting that time, I feel very like Mama Berry about it. And that is because I lost so much time with them when we did have them when I was poorly. Like, we've got photos of me laid out on the sofa where I can't move and I'm bowled and basically crying, and they're there with me, but I couldn't be an active parent because I was poorly. So now I just feel like I want to be the most active parent, and I do that at the cost of my spoons an awful lot of the time, but knowing that in between those times we see them, I do have time to recover, just about.
Yeah. Just about.
Not always.
This is why we need the 4-day week, man. Like,
Oh my
working
God,
5 days
yeah.
a week it's not
I would
okay.
happily work slightly longer days, Monday to Thursday, to work less on a Friday.
See, no, I just don't want to work.
Because also I feel like by the time you've worked Monday to Friday and you're knackered, and then you get up on a Saturday and you're like, well, I need to do the washing, I need to do all these chores and like household stuff that has to happen that you don't do in the week because you haven't got the energy to do it during the week. So then that takes up a morning of your weekend.
Well, the weekend becomes more about like rest and recovery more than like having a really good time.
Yeah. So we talked the other day on our Ragey walk about how we were in this cycle of work and not a lot else, because work is taking so much from you that every evening you don't know what to do. And I don't know if there is a way to fix that, because that's more of a societal problem than a cancer problem.
Yeah, it's just frustrating sometimes, I think, because I think like no one really knows what life after cancer is going to look like. But I think I don't know what I was expecting life after cancer. I think like when I was in it, I was quite naive and thought like, oh, it'll be fine, like cancer will be over and I'm gonna be like, it's amazing, like, I'm gonna go out and get what I want. And I don't think I didn't know what I want, and I still don't really know what I want, and I still don't really know like what I want my life after cancer to look like. Like, all I really know is that I want to spend as much time with friends and family as possible. Like, that's like such a priority for me now, and I maybe took it for granted pre-cancer as well. I think because I lived with my parents, it was very much like, oh, I see my mum and dad all the time, like, and I'd come home from work and I'd go upstairs and I'd barely speak to them. Like, we'd have dinner and then I'd go upstairs and I'd watch TV in my little sitting room, and I wouldn't really ever talk to them. Whereas now, like, I talk to them all the time, like we message each other, like I go over on the weekends. Like, I'm literally always, I want to go home and see my family.
I saw my mum today and I just spent most of my time crying on her, which is
No.
I know, which made her cry.
Yeah. Yeah, my mum always tells me like, oh, I'm trying to do too much in a day. It's like if I tell her my plans, I'm like, oh, do you reckon I've got time? She's like, no. You're trying yet again, you're trying to squeeze too much into a day.
Yeah.
But it's just a consideration that like most people who've had cancer have to like deal with now. And it's something that like cancer muggles just don't understand.
There are obviously like loads of people who have cancer and then they go on to do some super amazing things
Oh my God,
with their lives, and that is completely valid and great. But I do also think like a lot of these people that we hear about that go on and do these big feats and projects, and they are the minority. We just hear about them more. So like even when someone's like, oh, but so and so had cancer and they ran the London Marathon, you're like, yeah, cool. Okay, great. Like I'm really pleased for them that they can do it. But also, just because they had cancer doesn't mean that their cancer experience was relative to the cancer experience that
everyone is so unique.
Have. Like I was talking to my mum about it today because she works in a cafe and there's always a couple of people who've got cancer because 1 in 2 of us will get it. And she was saying that the parallels in people are so different. Like there's one lady, they've got 2 people currently at the moment, both going through chemotherapy, and they are tolerating chemotherapy so differently. One lady you wouldn't even fucking know other than the fact that she's lost her hair. Like you wouldn't know. She's bright as a button. She's there. She's up and about. She's saying she feels fine. And then there's someone else that's literally like, I just had to drag myself out because I needed to see a different wall, but I shouldn't be here. Even if lady number 1 goes on to run a marathon and lady number 2 doesn't, it's because they've had completely different experiences of the same, and I'm saying that in inverted commas, of the same life experience. Like it's completely different for everybody, and you can't just say like, oh, one person did this so you can do that. And also people don't want to. Like 6-7 months ago I was telling my oncologist I just want to be able to go for a walk and be a parent. Like that's my baseline. That's all I want to do.
Well, it is about having like smaller goals, really, isn't it? Today I want to get up and shower. Like that's genuinely like a goal I have some days, is to be able to get in the shower. And it's so crazy to be saying that, over 2 years now post me finishing cancer treatment, I'm still saying like, oh, it's a really good day if I've got up and had a shower.
I need to have one today, and I've been putting it off all day.
See, I had one, but probably only because I went swimming, so I just had one at the swimming pool.
If
I hadn't gone swimming, like, would I have had a shower today? I don't know. I've not left the house
3 or 4 times today I've gone, I need to have a shower, I'll just have a cup of tea and then I'll do it. And I've had the cup of tea and I've been like, I don't want to have a shower.
And I know, and it's frustrating because you think over 2 years on, like I should have more energy, I should be able to have a shower, maybe I shouldn't be as depressed as I am.
This is what I was saying to my mum today, that I think the daily slog of this, that every morning waking up in pain and having to decide, is this level of pain something I need to take pain relief for today or not, because taking pain relief long term comes with its own issues. And having to remember to take my medication 3 times a day, and making sure that I start my day with my walk because I know that helps with my joint pain and I know that helps me feel better, and making sure I eat properly and drink properly, and making sure I'm taking breaks away from my screen, and making sure that I am checking in with some of my friends, because we all need to speak to someone other than our pets during the day. And by the time you've done all of that, you're tired from just getting through the day. And that is just a ridiculous place to be. And then you go to bed and you wake up the next day and you repeat the process, and you're starting your day tired, you're starting your day frustrated at this slog that you're going through. And it has this huge mental health impact that you don't even see happening until it's almost a bit too late. I text Shelley today and joked that I'd seen my mum and I'd cried on several occasions, and actually maybe that means I need antidepressants again. And then as soon as I said it, I was like, I mean, that's probably not quite as bad an idea as it sounds. Life is hard. Like life is hard for everyone, cancer or not. And there are people out there who definitely have it way worse off than us. We have roofs over our heads. We have people who love us. We have warm homes and food to fill our bellies. Like there are plenty of people who don't have things like that. So we are lucky, incredibly lucky. But that doesn't mean that it isn't hard in a different way. And it can be really hard, like putting one foot forward every day for the rest of your life.
And I think it's just that point now where it's I'm bored of it. Like I'm bored of waking up in pain.
Bored.
Like I'm bored of not being able to do like everything that I want to be able to do. Like I'm bored of being in the menopause and I've gained weight and like I'm just bored of it.
This episode's a real joy.
I know, we started off like, oh my god, yeah, we've got some crystals, like let's plan our lives after cancer, and then by the end of it we're both just fuck this.
Come on, crystals, do your thing.
This is why we need the crystals. But no, I was like you, like because earlier this year I called the doctor because I was feeling like really happy and I was in a good place, and I was like, do you know what, I'm going to come off my antidepressants, and I was on 30 milligrams. I have come down to 20, and I tried to go down to 10, and I was like, nope. Not happening.
I came off mine because I couldn't be on sertraline while I was on tamoxifen. To me, the getting onto the tamoxifen and getting quality of life back was way more important at that point than adding an antidepressant into the mix. And I genuinely felt kind of okay. I'm not manically depressed, and I'm not like, I think when you think of people needing antidepressants, you think that they're super sad and they're crying all the time and they've got like all the typical things, like no motivation to do things, complete loss of interest in things, not feeding themselves properly. And like, yeah, those are all signs of it. But I think it's like a low level, I'm just done and I'm bored and I can't fake being happy about the predicament I find myself in for the next however many years. I know that I'm a crier, and I know I'm processing things when I'm crying, and I'm not crying. So I'm not doing something. My brain it's shutting itself down. And that's not always healthy. It's certainly not a healthy way for me to operate. So I might go have a conversation with them about it and just be like, even if it just gets me out of the rut that's like, because I've been like,
got to do what's right for you.
Seriously depressed before. Like,
yeah.
I think when I first started sertraline back in 2020, like it was bad. It was during the pandemic. I was living on my own. My relationship had just ended. My entire support network had just been taken out from underneath me because of the pandemic. Like when that relationship broke down, I was very much like, but this is going to be okay because I still get to go to work every day and I get to see these people that I love and they're going to help me through this. They're going to help me process it. And then it was like, no, stay at home. Thanks, world. And I was having like panic attacks. And like when I went to go and buy our car, I had a panic attack because I got so overwhelmed at buying a car. I just laid down on the floor and had a panic attack. And my mum was like, this is not okay. I was recognizing all of the emotions and the feelings, and I knew I was really struggling, and I knew I was so anxious and I was so sad, but also so was everybody else at that time, you know. And I don't have any of those feelings now, but I do just have this constant current of I'm just fucking done.
You just have a baseline level of depression.
Probably, yeah.
This isn't where I expected this conversation
to
go. Like, we had a plan to be like, oh, let's talk about what we want from life after cancer.
I thought we'd be inspirational.
How depressed we are. But you know, it's just a metaphor for life. It doesn't always go the way you plan.
Point number 1 on the life after cancer list: not be quite so depressed. Get that under control.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then
point number 1.
Then go do the super inspirational stuff. I don't think I want to do anything inspirational. I just want to be happy in my home.
Yeah.
Not have to work as hard.
I just don't want to have to work. But I do kind of want to be inspirational though. I want to be like remembered, like, oh my god, Shelley, yeah, she was so great.
Well, hopefully we'll be remembered for the podcast.
Yeah. At my funeral, I want you to be like, I remember Shelley, she was such an inspiration.
I'll get working on like a little eulogy now.
Yeah, just in case I drop down.
I'll be like, this would sound really good if I could say this, so can you go do that?
Yeah. I remember this one time. No, we do inspirational stuff just in our own way. And like we said when we started the podcast, I mean, the fact that we've been having a podcast, I
Yeah.
didn't expect that from Life After Cancer. And if I hadn't have had cancer, I wouldn't have a podcast. I'd be like, what the hell
No.
do I have to talk about?
I mean, technically, I've already had a dream come true, the podcast. So, I mean, I'm done.
Exactly.
Ka-ching.
Yeah.
I can die happy.
Dream come true. I don't know what I want from
Yeah.
Life After Cancer. I want to just be happy with my life. I want to spend more time with the people that I love, less time with rubbish boys. This isn't going to turn into another dating rant, by the way, because I've not been on any dates. But it just means I can't be asked to waste my time with that bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
And I just want to I want to spread awareness as well. I want to spread awareness of breast cancer and cancer in general, which hopefully we're doing with this podcast. So life complete.
But maybe Life After Cancer doesn't need to be inspirational. Maybe we're falling
No.
into the trap that we need to have these big plans, and we don't need to have these big plans at all.
Yeah.
We've done the big shit. We've got through it.
Yeah.
And you know, if I want to sit and eat 7 tubs of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, I fucking will, because I can, and I had cancer.
After the shops to buy some Ben and Jerry's.
We should just cut the episode there. I can't get cancer. Do, 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 do. We've inspired you, even if it's to go and get antidepressants.
Go and get antidepressants. But also make sure you talk to a doctor first.
Yeah.
We're not medical professionals, but we have been on antidepressants for a long time.
I feel better for laughing.
We've got crystals now, so I actually, you know what, actually, you said at the beginning, like, oh, I don't necessarily believe it. Like, I agree, like, I don't necessarily believe in crystals, but also, like, why not? Like, why not believe in something? Like, why
Something,
not?
yeah.
Yeah, why not wear
I
a
believe in the
bracelet
placebo
where, like,
effect.
do you know what? Same. And I was at yoga the other day, and like we were doing all these breathing exercises, and I was thinking to myself, like, I do feel zen. She came around, she put this essential oil on my wrist, and I was like wiping it like all over my body, like, because you know that's going to cleanse my aura. And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Like, I am going to get into all this crystal aura bullshit.
Maybe
Like,
we
I love-
should.
I think we should. Let's experiment.
One of the things in the Bucket Fuck It book is to get your aura read.
Oh my god, let's do it.
Do
Let's
that.
get her auras read, and then we'll walk in and she'll go, whoa. You guys have some
Trauma,
negative
trauma.
energy. And then we'll get our auras
I'm like,
cleansed.
but look, I've got my crystals. I have a whole arm full of them. By then.
She'll be like, you need more. Load up on the crystals.
Which ones haven't you got?
Yeah. We'll go to the shop and we'll just buy out the whole place.
Yeah.
We'll just we need to live in this shop, please.
One of everything, please.
I think we should. I'm going to buy some sage and I'm going to cleanse my
Yeah.
space. And, you know, let's get rid of the negative energy and, you know, we're winning at life.
We are winning at life because we're not dead.
Exactly. And that's the main point. We are still here. We've had 2.5 laps around the sun since cancer. I've had
Yeah.
3 laps around the sun since I was diagnosed. So fuck you, cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer nil.
Fucking come for
Shelley
me.
and Kate
Got my
won.
crystals now.
Life after cancer. Yeah, we're rocking it. Those are the ramblings of 2 mad women. If you want to share your story, we'd love to hear from you. Whether you've had cancer, you know someone that's had cancer, or you just love listening to our voices. Slide into our DMs on Instagram at onelump_or2.
Or email us at onelumportwopod@gmail.com.
See you next week.
Bye!